Time for another video. Today we'll be talking about the basics, and this, I believe, is a pillar of fishing. And it's the basics of putting together your very first rod and reel. Could be that you're a dad, wanted to take your kid out to fish, you want to start out a hobby with you and your child, and you want to go out there but you don't want to go out there blind. This is the video for you. If you are someone who just thought like, hey, I want to go fishing, how do I start? This is the video for you. All right, so for those guys that want to learn about your first rod and reel, what you should be looking for, we're not going to be talking about brands, but we'll talk about the specifications of everything. And this will be something that you could actually take to a tackle shop and say, like, I want this type of rod, I want this reel, I want this line, this leader, and the terms. We're going to be talking about those, the basic terms and fishing. And then at the end of the video, you'll be able to go fishing. I'm going to show you how to make an arrangement of hook, line, and sinker, which is, by the way, what we call fishing rigs. And we will be making sure that you can use them for fishing in the rivers, in the lakes, or in the seashores, in the breakwaters, on the beach. This is a video of the very basic stuff in fishing. I believe this is also something that's being missed by a lot of people, which is very unfortunate. And this is also why I made this video. Okay, so the format of this video will be a very generalist approach to choosing the rod, reel, and line, everything, okay, from start to finish. Also, I'd want to start with the rod because it's what you're holding, the reel, the line, and then whatever comes after, terminating into the hook. That's kind of like the flow, just so you know. Also, I'm not going to be talking about specific brands. What we'll be talking about is the specifications of everything, so that when you go to the tackle shop, irregardless of what brand or what budget you have, which is very important in today's world, you'd be able to find something that fits you. Okay? Now, before we even proceed with that, I'll tell you something. When it comes to fishing, you really get what you pay for. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, but most of the time, the more you actually spend on a rod, you'll get a better one. However, the more you spend, the more specific it becomes to a purpose. So try to keep your budget in the middle. Try not to buy the cheapest stuff because those are junk. But try to be in the middle. And just like these types of things, the middle way is actually a very, very good way. A very good way, not the best way. Okay? So, let's start with the rod. By the way, before you start, the measurement that we're going to be using, so again, this is something that's available for the whole world, because when it started to get popular, this was kind of like the standard that everybody lived on. We're going to be using LBS or pound test. Okay? Now, if you're not in the US and you're looking for these things, all you have to do is just divide it by 2, which is easier than dividing by 2.2, because 1 pound is 1 kg is 2.2 pounds. So just round it off, very small difference, and it's just easier. So for people outside of the US. Now, the reason why we're using that is because there are a lot of rods and reels that are actually spec'd using this standard. Lines, reels, rods. It's very common. It's actually more common than kg, because this is something that has been done for a really long time. In the 90s, when we say like a lot of the boom happened, the standard that was being used was the US standard, okay, which is pounds. So We'll be talking and mentioning pounds a lot in this video. Now, the rod. Before we even start, the rod is the long bit that you hold. Okay? Now, the handle could be made of cork, such as this one. Usually, when you see cork handles, it means the rod is kind of premium. There are rods with foam handles, which are more durable. But the name of the game is sensitivity. So for you fathers out there, you would understand that sensitivity is what makes you detect the bites. And this is very important when you're buying a rod and reel. The componentry as far as the makeup of the rod, look for a graphite rod. They're more sensitive, and especially with the conditions now where manufacturing is actually easier, graphite rods are actually cheaper. Fiberglass rods are nice, but they're not as sensitive. However, for the kids, it's probably better to learn on because fiberglass bends more and it does not break as much as graphite rods. But as far as sensitivity is concerned, graphite is key because with the graphite rod, it is something you don't outgrow. So if you're planning to have your rod and reel with you for years, probably a good idea to go with graphite. Having said that, the length of the rod dictates a lot of things. This rod is a 7-foot rod. What that means is that from the butt end all the way to the tip, it's 7 feet. A longer rod is better than a short rod. Although for transportation, the shorter rods would be better. 7-foot rods are longer, which enables you to reach farther distances because you'll have more distance from your casts. So what I recommend is a 7-foot rod to start with. It's up to you whether you can find a rod that has a cork handle or a foam handle. What you need to look for is a rod that is light in weight, okay? About 7 feet, and the type is called a spinning rod. And we'll talk more about this later on, but it's very easy to learn, and you'll be casting long distances after about 15 minutes of practice. The most important thing is to learn how to cast straight, and we'll be doing that in a different video. But 7-foot rod. Now, this is a one-piece rod. Although this would be very, very ideal for most, I would advise you to get a 2-piece rod. So that's a 2-piece 7-foot rod. In the apparel industry, we have small, medium, and large. And majority of the people on earth are on the medium side. For fishing, we have light, medium, heavy action. So, you can look for a medium action rod. And what this means is that you'd be able to do a little bit of the light stuff and you'd be able to do a little bit of the heavy stuff. So, something in the middle. Okay? As I said earlier on in this video, something in the middle. So as far as budget is concerned, something in the middle. There are 6-foot rods, there are 5-foot rods, there are 12-foot rods, 10-foot rods. 7 feet is something in the middle. So 7 feet or 7.5 is actually a very good length to choose. If I was to choose between a 7 and 7.5, if I could find a 7.5, I would get a 7.5. 6 foot and 6'6" are very common. Very, very common rod lengths. But if you can get a 7.5 or a 7, you're in good shape. Now, poundage. If you look at the rod on the shaft or somewhere in the shaft, there's actually writings. So this one tells me that it is 7 feet, medium, and it says line. Very, very important detail, line. So the line, again, is measured in pounds or lbs. In this instance, it says 6 to 12. Okay? Now, lighter than 6, it means that it is on the light side. Heavier than 12, it means it's on the heavy side. This is right smack in the middle. I would recommend 10. Okay? Again, something in the middle, which gives you the lightness when you're kind of in casting. Okay? So you have 10, but not too heavy like 12. So something in the middle. You'd still be able to give the fish a lot of pressure, but still light enough to use. So something in the middle. Okay? Now, another detail is the lure weight. So here it says lure 1/4 to 1 ounce. This means this is the safe region or safe weights that you'd be able to use with this rod. This is for your sinkers and your lures. Take for example, here's a ball sinker that is about 1 ounce. Okay, so this is something that I could use with this when I'm fishing and when I'm casting. It would make the whole thing easy to manage. Okay, so that is your rod. Just to recap, 7 feet, cork or foam handle. Depending on your budget, cork is a bit more expensive than foam. But foam is more durable. So that's your decision to make. Medium action, 6 to 12, or it could be 7 to 15. 6 to 12, 7 to 15. It depends on what you have available. 7 feet, 7.5, 2-piece for easy carrying. Okay? That's the rod. For the reel, you're looking at a size 4,000. It balances well with a rod like this. The size 4,000 reel is just about, again, something in the middle. And this is a very good example of that reel or that type of reel. It doesn't have to be this reel. Just out of curiosity, if you guys are asking, this is a Shimano Twin Power. Okay? Now, as far as the ratio is concerned, there's a lot of people that are, saying that, oh, gear ratios and this and that. The ratio is when you're turning this, it's the number of times that this spins. This is why it's called a spinning reel. See? That. So the reel type that you're going to be getting is something like this. It's called the spinning reel. And the size is a 4,000. Now, we're going to take a deeper dive into this and the functionality of the reels in another video because I don't want this video to be longer than it needs. But 4,000 sized reel, okay, there we go. Just a quick rundown on things. That's the handle. This is the shaft. This is the reel seat. Stem. This is the bail. This is an added extra, so don't mind this, okay? So there we go. That's the bail. This is the rotor. This is the spool. So those are the types or the parts of the reel that you should know, okay? Very, very important. The spool holds the line. The bail is what you open to cast and what you close to reel the line in. You have a roller here that keeps the line level, or it helps level the line, and the spool goes up and down. It oscillates so that it arranges the line. It lays the line properly like that. Now normally I would ask you to spool with nylon. But that's kind of old school, okay? And yes, it's a very good line. However, in today's economy, this type of line, which is called braided line, is something that you should be looking at because the fishing pressure in the area that you're fishing in is increasing. And you could put 10 pound test, um, 10 pound test mono on this, and you'll be happy. The problem is when you see the next guy cast out and it's farther, and everybody else is casting farther, and you won't be able to cast far because your line is too thick. So if you use braid, okay, if you use braid, it will be easier. It will be easier to cast those long distances. Okay? So braid is something that I recommend, but you could also use nylon or monofilament. Braid is a bit more expensive, but it is also more sensitive. So you'll be able to detect bites more with braid. Okay, so that's braid fishing line. Now we will attach the rod to the reel, and this is how you do it. So there's a on the reel seat here, and this is the reel. Sorry, this is the reel foot. So reel seat, you just twist, enter like that, and then twist it in like so. Now you have to really tighten it until you don't feel it moving anymore, and that's very important. But don't over tighten it, just hand tighten. Okay, so what I do is once it's there, I just tap it a few times like that, and then I tighten it one more turn, and that makes it a single solid unit, and it doesn't move around. Very, very important, because a lot of people miss out on that. Okay, so you have your rod, reel, and line. Now there are knots that you could tie from braid to leader, which is something that I could link, something very important that you should learn. And we'll also do like very basic braid to mono knots. Now from your line, your braided line, you would need something called a leader. A leader is a thicker piece of monofilament, and this is clear material, clear nylon line, clear line. Okay, and it doesn't have strands. That's why it's called mono or single. Okay, so there we go. And this is basically the part of the whole system that would take the abuse. When you're casting, this is what goes through the lines, line guides, which are the rings. Okay, in and out like that. This is what gets exposed a lot to stuff that braids or cuts. So this is called the leader because it leads everything, and this is what you use to connect everything. Now remember your line. So the recommendation for your line would be 10 pound. Okay, 10 pounds. A lot of people would buy 10 pound test equivalent, which would make that braid 30 pound. Not good practice, but it depends on you. That's your thing. But my recommendation is to stay within the recommended power of your rod and reel, because when one part is actually stronger than the rest, what happens is that the other stuff will break. Okay, so if your line is stronger than your rod might break. Recommendation is, if the rod says 12, use 12. If it says, like for our balancing, this is what we're talking about here. It's called balancing. So to balance your rod reel line, your rod says that it has 6 to 12. You choose 10 because 10 is in the middle. Same with your reel. It will give you a range. the spool will hold 6 pounds of this much, 10 pounds, this much 10 pounds, and it will hold this much of 12 pounds. So you use 10, a 4,000 size reel. You'll get about, I would say about, for braid, about 330 yards or something like that. So a lot of line. And you'll need that when you stand a chance of actually catching a fish that runs hard. Okay? So that's a very good thing to consider. I would rather have thinner line and a lot of it than short line and a strong short line. That's it doesn't make sense to me. So I'd rather have thinner line and more of it, because I can tire out the fish rather than pulling it. Because when you're pulling it, again, if your line is stronger than your rod, it'll break your rod, or it'll break your reel. So I'd rather have something that's right for everything, and it will kind of work together as one single unit, which should be the case. Your leader is attached to the main line, and this is what's attached to the rig. And I'm showing you with this first because it's the easiest way to go. Now, this is your leader. Okay, this is going to be this line right here. And just so we could see things better, I'm making this as the example for your braid. Loop. Hold the loop. Make sure that you have a long piece here. Hold the loop. Twist it 7 to 10 times. Okay. So you're twisting it onto those two strands. And then twist back. Like so. And you see that? You go through the loop. Normally, you would need to lubricate this with water or saliva, and then you pull. Okay? So I'll show you exactly how to do it with the actual fishing line that I'm going to use and the actual leader that we're going to be using. So which is this one right here. And what I will do is I'll zoom in so you guys can see exactly what is happening. Okay, so I think you're able to see that better. Okay, now what we're gonna do is take our braid, make sure that we have a long piece right there. You don't go through this thing, okay? You just hold it like so that it is in place, and then we twist down like this. And this will make a very strong connection. It is bulky, but it is basic and very easy to tie. Okay, so now that we have that, we go back. Okay, so and then we take the end, put it there, and then we start pulling, and you pull both strands on both the braid and the mono. So you can see there it's starting to snug up. You pull one tag, pull the other until it is snug. to help you along with this, there are tools you could use, such as these. This is a line puller. A piece of dowel would work, like so. Pull the tag, now you'll see that it has tightened. I'm gonna zoom in a bit just so you guys can see. Okay, but right now, making sure that all the ends are pulled tight. And for this one right here, use a pair of pliers to tighten it. There we go. And that's your finished knot. That's how you connect braid to fishing line. Really easy. Braid to leader. Okay. And you can see it's actually relatively slim. Now what you need to do is cut this as close as you can, the tag end of the mono, and you use a pair of scissors. Again, as close as you can. So what I do is actually pull on the strands like so, and then cut. And that's not gonna leave any much of a tag. And I do the same for the braid. This is gonna be a bit trickier, but here we go. Now, if you have stuff that stick out like so, be very careful. Lighter, just touch up, bang, that's it, and it's not gonna leave a tag. But you can see here that it is a very strong, very slim connection. Well, relatively slim. I'm gonna zoom in just to show you how this is. See, now it's so slim that it actually I mean, you can see the grains of my finger right there. Okay. Now, that's it for the knot. And then we take about 5 feet of this leader. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out so we have more space. Okay. So we take 5 feet of this leader, which is about almost my whole arm span, like so. Okay. And that is the length of our leader. Then this is what you thread through all the eyes of the rod. Now that we have the leader connected, as I've shown you, okay, we take the end of the leader, and then we will thread it through the eye or eyes of our rod, like so. Okay, like that. Then we will make sure that it's through. Okay. Now you're doing this all with the bail arm open. Now it's time to close it. Okay. And then what I will do now is to put a sinker. Okay, this is a sinker. This is the rig that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to shoot with the overhead cam so that you can see. So I will put, this is a very simple rig. So this is called a sliding sinker rig. So what I will do is I will take this ball sinker, which has a hole, I will thread it through the ball sinker, like so. And then I will take what is called a swivel. Okay, here we go. So that's an example of a swivel. So they have ears on each side. And what they are is to keep your line from being tangled, or when it protects from twist. Now, before tying the swivel, I will tie, or I will put on, not tie, but I will put on a bead. This is nothing but a small, simple bead. You could buy this anywhere, but tackle shops would have them as well. Okay, I'm going to zoom in so that you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about here. So, again, this is the ball sinker. Thread it through. And then your bead, and it could be any color. I'm just using black because that's what I have. And then this is the knot that you will be using. Okay, so swivel one end like so. Okay, let's do it this way. Okay, and then twist the line like that about 7 times. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then you take this, put that in the loop like so. Okay, and then you tighten it. Now how you tighten it is that you pull on the swivel and make this line actually tighten on its own. It's good to lubricate this with some water or saliva. Okay, so just like that. And then I'm gonna use a pair of pliers just so you'd see. Okay, I'm gonna hold one eye of the swivel and then pull on the line. What I did was to wrap the line around my hand like so. Be very careful when you're doing this. You don't want to cut yourself. The line, the nylon, will actually cut your finger. So what I do is just with my thumb right here, I'm gonna be pushing this to help it along, and I will pull the line. Okay, now just as a safety measure, I'm also going to grip the tag and pull on it just to make sure. Okay, so that's it. As you can see, that's a very tight knot. And then I will take my scissors and cut the tag, but what I'll do is I'll leave some. I will leave some of the line so that just in case, it's not gonna slip, but just in case that knot decides to slip, it will have that allowance to move on. Now, here's the thing. If you don't put the bead, when the sinker slides, it will hit that knot and it will eventually wear that knot out. But because the bead is there, and sometimes sometimes the eye of the bead would be big enough so that you could actually just pull on that so that it protects the whole of the knot, and also it protects it from side to side abrasion. That's why I bought these beads, and you can find them in tailoring shops and stuff. So your line, boom, just slides and it doesn't affect the knot. That's very important. Now, the swivel. Now this is a fishing rig specifically so that you can fish the bottom. So in the water, let's say this is the water column, you're fishing this on the bottom right here, okay, with your line and then your hook. Now, let's put the line. And this is your casting leader, and we're going to be making a hook leader, or in certain areas of the world, it's actually called the hook snood, okay? So we will be making our line or our hook leader. But before that, let's talk about the hook. So where I'll be fishing tomorrow, I need a hook that's pretty sturdy, because we're going to be going after some strong fish. So there's two types of hooks that you will find. If you're in the US, you won't find these a lot, but I need to show them to you just so you would know and you won't find it weird. There are hooks with no holes. That is called a spade head. Okay, so just so you see, I'm gonna show you right here. Okay, so that's a spade head. That's the spade head. Okay, this is an example of it. Spade head hook. The hook that I want you to find is a hook that is very useful for quite a few things. It is a hook pattern called O'Shaughnessy. O'Shaughnessy. Hooks have different shapes, different thicknesses and all this. The O'Shaughnessy is a general purpose hook. And this is how it looks like. And it has an eye. So that's what we're going to be using, not this. Very, very basic. The leader, the hook leader that I'm going to be using would be thinner than my casting leader. A lot of people would use this for places where there's a lot of snags or places where you could get hung up. Now, we are using 17-pound test as our casting leader. So we will need to find something that's around 10-pound test for our hook leader, which means that if we will snag, this piece of line will break before our big line right here. Okay, it's a safety precaution. So again, guess what knot I'll be using? It is the same knot that I showed you earlier. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then we will take this, put this on right there, and then again just pull the tag, pull this line. Okay, as soon as you reach that stage, what you do is wet the line. Could be your saliva, could be water, up to you. We use saliva, fishermen. Ew. Okay, and then we pull this part here. Okay, keeping that straight, you could just leave that, and then help this knot along. I think the reason why a lot of people experience breakages with this knot is because A, they don't lubricate, and B, they don't help the knot along to finish it. They just tighten it. So it has excessive heat from friction and it breaks. So again, cut that and leave a tag. Like so. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in just so you can see exactly, or I'm going to bring this in closer so you see exactly what's happening here. Okay, leave it like that. Okay, so we have our main leader right here. And you can see the tag. And then we have our hook leader, which is the thinner part. And you can see the tag sticking out there as well. Okay, now I'm gonna put a, I would say about, I will cut a 2-foot section. Okay, like so. And guess what? I'm gonna zooming in for you guys so that you see exactly what the process is. I'm gonna zoom in and show you how I attach the line to the hook. Okay, here's the eye. I'm holding the hook. Then I will take the eye or the line, put it in the eye like so. See that? Form a triangle. Hold that. And then I'm going to twist this 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For thin lines, I use 7. For thicker lines, I just use 4. Okay? The loop right there. Take this, insert in the loop. Like so. And then slowly pull this and pull this. Okay? That stage, lubricate. There we go. And then I will tighten this, have my thumb help like so, pull this, okay, just like that. There we go. Tighten this. Okay, here we go. Now final step, take your pair of scissors. Okay, I'm gonna, this is not focused. There we go. All right. Okay, so we have that. As you can see, that's how the knot is formed. Then just cut, leave a tag. There we go. That is it. Some people use a lighter to burn a ball there, but not necessary. So just like that, just cut it clean and you'll be fine. Okay, so you'll find that that looks really clean. So the whole thing looks like this. See that? And then you have your line, you have your hook. Now you're ready to put bait on there. So this is it for this. And then tomorrow, I'm gonna show you how to use this whole thing. But that is it. Okay? Okay, now that you have your hook, line, and sinker, all that needs to be done is actually keep this onto the rod and you're ready to go. Now, there are some rods that have these little hooks or loops there, which is called a lure holder. Okay, so mine has one. I'm just gonna put that on there and bang. As you can see, it basically keeps, or it's called a hook keeper as well. So basically what I do after that is take the line, turn it onto the rod so that it doesn't bang on the, so as you can see there, right, like so. Okay, and that's in the ready position. I can take this with me, put a bait at the end, and then I'm fishing. Okay, if you haven't yet and you want to learn more, click on that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if you learned something. And If you want to have your friends learn with you, family members, your kids, click on the share button. Okay, if you want to support me and this channel, click on the join, and that is it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Class dismissed.